This is Andrea with Yarn Pack and Mama, and today I'm going to be going over how to use a pom pom maker. I have 3 different styles here, and I am going to start with this double-sided arch style, which I do find is the easiest to use. And then I have this detached style, which is not terribly hard to use. It just slides around quite a lot, and then also you have to figure out the orientation of how to place the 2 sides together, because they are directional. And we'll get into that once we cover this one. And then I am going to go over this arch style pom pom maker. I find this one the hardest to use, and I'll have some recommendations once we get to using that one. So let's get started. So for this one, you're going to first open it up so that the 2 sides are open and longer. Then you're going to take your yarn and start wrapping it around, and the hardest part is getting started because you gotta get the tail to cooperate. And I usually will start at the bottom and work my way around so that I can start getting a nice full pom. And that's really all there is to this one. You're just going to continue wrapping it around until you have it to the fullness that you want. The more wraps you do, the fluffier and thicker your pom-pom will be. These ones have a little bit of a limitation that if you don't, or if you overwrap them and then you try to close it, it doesn't want to close, because at the end you'll close it. And you'll do this for both sides. So I'm going to work the yarn on this side, snip it, and then close this side, and then start wrapping the other side and try to get them in as even as possible. And I'll meet you up at the end when I'm finishing off. Okay, so I finished. I've wrapped both sides and I've closed it. Now I'm going to take my scissors and snip it along the channel that is in between the 2 white arches. And I'm just going to cut this all the way around on both sides, and this is the start of our pom-pom. And just want to make sure that you cut all of the strings in between. And then, like I said, we'll do this on the other side. I actually like to go from the back of the arch instead of where it opens, just because it won't open from the back side of this particular style. And then once I'm finished cutting this all the way through, which can take a little bit of time depending on how thickly this was wrapped, and that was my tail. You're going to cut a length of yarn. I tend to cut a little bit longer of a length because I like to secure it at least 2 times depending on the size of the pom-pom. For smaller ones, I'll just do twice on either side, like top and bottom. I'll make a knot, and then that's really all there is to that. You just make a nice knot, and I usually will double it up 2 times on one side, so that's why I leave the yarn a bit longer. And then once I'm done here, I'm going to open it up, and we're going to have a pom-pom. And then the tails are really cool for these ones too, because if you were attaching it to a hat, you've already got the strings set up to attach to the hat. And then you'll just open up the pom-pom maker. It's easier to do it that way, and then it will just come apart at the center, and you just pull it apart, and then you can put it back together when you're done. And at the end, you'll have a nice pom. can clean up and even out as well. And that's how you use this style of Pom Pom maker. And now we're going to get into the purple Pom Pom maker, or the detached one, which is purple for me. So this one, you'll see these bumps, and then you'll see these holes, and you actually need to line them up so that way both sides are together. And I'm struggling a little bit here with my orientation, so I've actually closed it, and then you want to make sure that the latched parts line up as well and that they're on the same side. And then from there, I'm going to open this up and get started. So this is going to be the same way as the other style of Pom Pom maker, where you have two arches and they're open. And I'm going to start wrapping my yarn, and this one is kind of difficult to deal with because it slides around, it's detached. This one's pretty large, so you just have to take your time. And also with this size of Pom Pom maker, it takes a while to get the arches full. And again, the more wraps you do, the fuller your Pom Pom will be. And that is how we're going to start this one. I'm going to work my way around, and then I actually did not detach my yarn for this one in between, and I just kept it together and I worked both sides, which is why you can see that little bit of wonkiness at the edge there. But once you're done, you're going to close up your Pom Pom maker, and I've already snipped my yarn from the ball. And then it's going to be like the other Pom Pom maker, where you use the channel to snip along, and I'm working from the back again here, and I'm going to just snip through all of the layers of the yarn. And at first I was a little bit weary because I'm like, oh, it's gonna start falling apart, but it didn't. So just have faith in the process for this one specifically. It's not going to fall out of the Pom Pom maker. It's going to stay put, and then yeah, so like I said, have faith in the process. Just keep snipping along that channel, and then you will have your Pom Pom, because at the end it's going to be similar to the other one, where you tie a length of yarn around the center. And for this one, since it was so big, I recommend tying it a little bit more than you might do a smaller one, just because there's a lot of yarn to keep together here. And I've actually had this one stress tested, and it's held up pretty well. It lost quite a lot of yarn though in my stress test, which is throwing it around and just really being rough on it. And it held up for the most part though. And then yeah, so see, it didn't fall out. We're good. And then yep, cut a length of yarn, and then take that around the center of the maker and make your knots where you need them to be. And because this one is larger, it was a little bit difficult to get the yarn situated just right. And then I'm cinching it down quite a lot because, again, I really didn't want this to come apart because, you know, it's a Pom Pom. It has a lot of loose yarn on it, and that's just the nature of a Pom Pom. And yeah, so that's really all there is to this one. You just keep tying it around. This one will also leave tails at the end, so if you were attaching it to something like a hat or anything else, really, the tails are already available, which is really quite nice for that. And then you just open it up when you're done, and voila. After I clip a few more random strings, and then the ones at the back that I left, I also clipped. And then, yeah, there's your pom-pom ready to fluff up and trim. And that's all there is to that one. So next we're going to be moving on to the single arch. In this case, it's a pinkish color. So for this one, you're going to start by putting yarn into the left notch, wrapping it around to the right, and then working it from back to front. I recommend leaving a much longer length of yarn on the left side. I left this really short, and it was really hard to tie it off and keep it together. So I actually had quite a lot of trouble using this one because I did not leave long enough length at the end, because once you're done wrapping this arch full, and you're supposed to wrap it so full that the yarn is actually exceeding the 2 notches on the bottom, and then you will be tying it off at the end to keep it all together. If you don't tie it off at the end, it will fall apart. Like, this was my second attempt at making a pom-pom with this style of pom-pom maker, because the first time I just cut it along the arch, and it fell apart because I did not tie it. I just was holding the ends together because that center string, or the string that you wrapped around both of the notches across the tool, is the center. So I figured that would keep it together a little bit more than it did. So just be wary of, or just make sure that you have tied a good enough knot at the bottom. And I'll meet you up at the end when I've finished. And here we are at the end, and that's what I meant by filling up the arch. And I actually did underwrap this. I should have filled it up a bit more so that the arch was actually fuller, but that's okay. And then you're just going to snip your yarn at the end, and then you're going to snip it again. So there's the left side, that's the end string, and then you're going to actually snip this string here in between the right-handed notch of the tool. And then it was actually a little bit difficult, but I had to, you can pull the center string once you find the looser side. And then you can tie it from there, but you do have to find, or you have to be able to pull the center string through. So the center string was not that easy to find or to pull through, probably because I did not fill the arch all the way, so it wasn't as close to the edge as it should have been. But yeah, and then from there I actually tie it at the bottom and then snip it along the edge. And this one takes a little bit longer because the thread is actually, or the yarn is actually wrapped more closely together than on the other ones, since you do have to fill this one quite a lot to get a full pom-pom, being that it's a single-sided arch opposed to the two-sided arches that will make up the 2 halves. This is making up the 2 halves in one, and that is why you have to wrap it so full. But that's okay. So like I said, you just keep following the channel along the arch, and keep snipping away. And I apologize for not being more in frame. It was a little bit difficult with my studio setup that day. And yep, so here we go. We're actually going to, then the arch just comes right off, and you'll have your pom-pom. And now we have our Pom Pom, and thank you for joining, and I did find this one to be the least secure. I hope this was helpful. I hope you found this insightful, and I hope you join me for more. Thank you.